People are not going to buy through a longevity standpoint through product. They're going to buy through trust.
What's the first thing you look at when you walk into a competitor's showroom?
How many products they've copied from us. When I'm traveling with reps, I'm making sure at first, is there a good itinerary? Are they setting up meaningful appointments?
What do you think makes for a great sales professional in the wholesale industry?
When a rep is in constant contact with us, they're usually out there grinding and paying attention. If a rep is not in constant contact, usually that's an indicator that something might be up. The most rewarding and the most effective way is to sell to help. I didn't want to be part of the problem, I wanted to be part of the solution. I did it because I wanted people to see that we weren't going to be impulsive. We weren't going to abandon the one thing that we said that we were, and that was a partner, because Savoy is poised and ready to explode.
The most overspent line item in your wholesale budget?
God, you're killing me with this one. Overspent.
Today our guest is Greg Mazza, VP of Sales at Savoy House. Savoy House is a key name in the lighting industry, one of the largest family-owned lighting wholesale companies out there. I think in this podcast, Greg, I mean, just knowing you and I've worked with you, you come across as a very decisive leader. You make decisions quickly and you've like a point of view, what you want to get done. So I think for the audience, it would be really helpful, given your sales career, right? You know, what do you think makes for a great sales professional in the wholesale industry, especially lighting?
Yeah. Well, I mean, in general, I feel like my whole life through the different types of selling that I have done, I feel like the most rewarding and the most effective way is to sell to help, right? It's really about asking a lot of questions. And this isn't new, you know, it's just whether or not you adapt it or not. And it's about understanding the person that you're in front of, right? People are not going to buy, through a longevity standpoint, through product, right? They're going to buy through trust, right? And you almost want to get to a point where the person makes their own decision, right? Because then they believe in their decision, and it's based on trust. It's not sort of fake placation. It's real, genuine interest in the person, right? And what their needs are. I'm a big student of Dale Carnegie, and he says basically you can make more friends in 2 weeks by investing in them, essentially, don't quote me, as opposed to 2 years of trying to make them invest in you, you know, and so that's really the secret.
So Greg, this whole philosophy of sell to help, right? Just play it out for us. Like if you are meeting say a dealer or you're going to a lighting showroom, like what questions are you asking? How are you discovering the pain points? And then how does that lead into, like, you know, finally selling the product? And the other interesting point you made is like long term, you're not going to sell the product. They're going to buy the trust. So how does a sales rep build that trust with say, a set buyer?
So I think that, well, I'll give an example. So if I'm going to go into an account, the first thing I'm doing is looking at their showroom, right? I'm trying to understand what is it that, you know, how do they merchandise? What type of product do they sell? Maybe I'm looking for product gaps so that I can offer that solution to the person. And I'm paying attention to what they're essentially selling, right? And how they're presenting themselves. And so, for example, if I'm selling a freestanding display, right? If I have Savoy House is selling a freestanding display, and I look around the showroom and I don't see any freestanding displays in the showroom, there's probably a chance I'm not going to try to sell somebody something that they don't believe in, right? Or they don't like to merchandise with. So it's then sitting down and it's just asking some questions about how their business is, asking about their history, right? Taking an interest in them, right? Understanding that, like, we're having a conversation here and we're not selling, you know, not that I have anything against it, but I'm not selling a used car. And I'm asking questions about what are their pain points, right? What are the things that they're having a hard time with? And oftentimes what I will get is not so much product related. I will get, I'm having a hard time with the way that a specific manufacturer is dealing with me. They're pulling back freight, or they are selling to a customer that I'm selling to directly, right? A specific customer. And so then I can really talk about what's really important, and that's the value of Savoy House. It's the value of who I work for, and it's the value of the family-oriented partnership, that we don't do those kind of things, right? And so usually I can solve a problem through asking questions, right? And then the answers to those questions are what's really important to listen and pay attention to, because if you're not listening and paying attention, you're trying to push your own agenda. I just don't find that to be successful. So successful reps in the field, remember we have consulting reps, are people that 80% of it are that have the relationships with the people in their territory, the accounts in their territory, that respect them through the partnership that they've gotten.
Got it. Greg, I mean, you're right. Like the issues sometimes the buyer is having might not be related to the product at all. Right? It could be customer support issues. It could be, as you rightly said, like you're kind of stealing away business from them in some way or the other. But eventually, like the final sale they are making is the product, and if the products you kind of merchandise there are not the right fit for them, eventually they don't get business, you don't get business, and I think that's also equally important.
Yes.
So like how do you identify these product gaps when you go into an account? How do you decide like, okay, these products are going to be the best fit for this account?
Yeah. So I think going into the account, understanding, like having sort of, we'll probably talk about this a little later potentially, is having what I call sort of a blue chip playbook of like, what are our best selling products? What are the products that I know that all over the nation, if you put this up in your showroom, they're going to generate ROI, right? Just organically. And then it's like having a number of options, right? A good amount of options, because in some parts of the country, or people in a certain retail showroom might already be involved with a partner that has a lot of the types of things that are in my blue chip playbook. That's why it's important to have variety. But again, it goes back to being in touch with and having a relationship with somebody and selling them on the value, selling them on customer service and the solution, selling them on a family-run company, not a private equity-run company that's concerned about bottom line, right, which many are going to these days in this industry. Selling them on being able to pick up the phone and get the owner of my company on the phone or myself on the company on the phone, and making them understand that in lighting, that's very important because there isn't a ton of brand recognition, which we'll talk about. At that point, Savoy House has every category. We have designer category. We have mid-level, bread and butter stuff in our Meridian line. We have LED mirrors. We have portables. We have lighting assets, lighting commodities like floodlights and discs. We have the breadth of the product, right? So when you have a company that has that kind of breadth, what you're really trying to do is say, hey, listen, we're one umbrella. Give us a chance. We'll find something. And oftentimes, I won't even try to close it in that meeting. I'll tell them to have a handshake that, look, we're going to do business together. You find what you need. You find the product gaps that you need. And they do.
Got it. And so, Greg, if customer service is that important, and you spoke about family-run business and the values of that, define that a little bit for the audience. Like, what does good customer service look like?
Yeah. So good customer service is proactive and solution-based. So, for example, if we anticipate a potential problem with orders that are, products that are delayed, or we anticipate a problem with maybe a defect on something, they're proactive about it. So they'll pull the product, and I've seen this, and this is what I love about Savoy House. These girls in customer service, they'll pull a product, they'll have operations pull the product, they'll go in the back, they'll inspect it, they'll make sure it's not a systemic issue, and they'll make sure that maybe it was a one-off, and if it is a systemic issue, there's an escalation path, and it's dealt with. It's responding to emails within only a few hours, right? And we're working sharper to even get better than that, right? It's answering the phone calls. It's solving the problems with more yeses than nos. That's customer service. Because a lot of companies in this industry, you can't even get an email response. You can't even get somebody on the phone. And as a consumer, we all are, when we have problems, isn't that important? Right? I mean, it's definitely swayed me from doing business from companies if I can't get on the phone with somebody or I can't get a solution. So that's what I mean by that. And we have a really, really great customer service department at Savoy House currently.
Greg, every wholesaler I've ever spoken to says that customer service is their biggest value prop. So this is something everybody says. But what does Savoy House, for example, or at Innovations, you did differently to ensure that customer service is that proactive? Is it about systems and processes? Is it about just sort of values of the company? Like what makes you drive that?
Mm-hmm. Well, first, I feel like it's about getting buy-in. So it's meeting with them. So when I first started at Savoy, I did one-on-ones with all the customer service associates. meeting with the customer service supervisor, the manager, and really getting buy-in. Like, do we really, like, making them understand that this is what's going to be our differentiator, right? Everybody has product, right? And everybody copies everybody's product, by the way. This is going to what's make people trust us and value us. So when I see I have that buy-in, right, and then there's an evaluation of that, then it's like there's this ownership of how can we be better, right? And how can we, if you put yourself in the position of a consumer, what would you want to see? And then it's about just dialing in on little things, right? For me, it's also about what can I remove from them from an administrative standpoint, right? From a bogged down in the weeds standpoint, and so that they can actually do what they do best, and that's talking to customers, that's, solving problems for customers, that's getting out in front, even potentially cross-selling. If there's something that's out of stock, hey, we have this, right, to convert on the sale. So that's ultimately what it is, but you have to get buy-in, and that really has a lot to do with leadership, is making people feel invested.
Got it. Coming back to the discussion on what makes a great sales rep, and I think you mentioned that when you are walking into an account, you're bringing that passion and talking about Savoy House. When I think about an independent rep who's repping 15 brands, maybe more, how, like, are they able to transfer the same passion with which you will talk about Savoy House?
So I think it starts at the foundation. So so there's some things that have to get done, I think, to excite a rep. I think for the way that we see it is that if we invest in marketing, right? We invest in content. We invest in the go-to-market brand building, right? We invest in customer service that when they call in, the reps, that they're going to answer them and they're going to give them all the tools they need. We invest in fireside chats, which we do every 6 weeks, where we bring them all together and we talk about who's doing great. We talk about what the initiatives are, and we talk about, let them know how the company's doing. When you're providing them with these kinds of passionate things, right? This initiative that we're taking. Again, I always say I would never ask somebody to do something that I wouldn't do. So if we're putting effort and time into sample packages and marketing packages for them, I think they see that we're really investing in them as well. In addition to which, I think I have a great national sales manager, Wayne Falk, and he's been in the business for quite some time. He travels with them often, and paying attention to people and giving them the time, I think also motivates. It's the same reason why I try to travel whenever I can. It's the same reason why you give performance evaluations. You're paying attention to somebody. If you're paying attention to somebody, they feel worthy.
What do you do on these trips? When you travel with the reps, what are you observing? What are you trying to get done in those visits?
Yeah. Well, first of all, it just gives me an opportunity to be in front of customers, which I love. I kind of come alive when that happens. And second, it's just, when I'm traveling with reps, I'm making sure at first, is there a good itinerary before we even get there? Did they set up the appointments? Are they setting up meaningful appointments? And not every appointment has to be a sale. I mean, there's times when I go to territories where I just want to stop by and say thank you, right, for what you've done so far. There's meaning to that. So it starts with the itinerary. I think then it goes from when we go in, it's how many of the sales associates on the floor that are selling know the rep, talk to the rep, right? So I know that they've been in there a lot and they have a good relationship. And we got really a fantastic consulting rep force across the country for Savoy. Remember, right? How do they know what they're selling? And are they able to execute on the follow-up, right? And so that's kind of like what I like to observe and see when I travel. But it's more of like a symbiotic, kind of relationship. I get to learn about them as well and just understand their business and how they handle things.
So, Greg, if a territory is doing well and you're going in there with a rep and you're doing these things, but say a territory is not doing well, you don't know why it's not doing well, and so you're going with a rep. I would assume the rep will take you to the customers that he already knows well, he knows everyone, but there is some issue, right? Like, because of which the territory is not doing well. How would you go about that and diagnose that as a problem?
So I think that markets matter, right? So depending upon the market is going to be dependent upon what's being pushed, right, and what's even being, distributed, so to speak, in that or showcased in that account. But with Savoy, the benefit is we have all kinds of products and styles, right? We're like designer friendly at a fair price, right, at a good price, and so that matters. But more importantly, it's how do I determine that from a metric standpoint or from an intuitive feel standpoint? Two different things. I think that when a rep is in constant contact with Savoy, with us, they're usually out there grinding and paying attention. If a rep is not in constant contact, usually that's an indicator that something might be up. It's also, has a rep scaled properly? If they've taken on a number of lines, have they taken on enough people to support those lines, right? And that you see happen too, because, the fact of the matter is that the more lines you get, the more money that you potentially have in your pocket. But there's a law of diminishing returns on that. So it's really monitoring that as well. And just having them scale their business in a way that, like, if they're not essentially getting a lot of showroom buy-in, because some showrooms are closing, are they attracting or going after new buyers, whether it's electrical distributors, whether it's designers for themselves to bring through, right? Those kinds of things.
And uh, talk to us about like how do you manage and monitor performance? Like
Yeah.
what kind of meetings are you taking? What frequency? What are you looking at typically? One unique thing about wholesale is that the reps are independent, right? So if I were running a rep force that's independent, I would have control issues. So how do you sort of navigate that as a sales leader? Yeah.
Who doesn't have control issues, right? Okay, so it starts with my director of e-commerce, Mike Bush, runs just incredible analytics at the end of every month, and he sends reporting out to each consulting rep agency, and it shows them how they're indexing with the company. So first thing I'm looking at is, are they indexing with the company's growth, right? Company's up 10%, I want to see that you're in that realm, right? But then it goes deeper. It's okay, so you are here, this is where the company is. There's always some sort of positive feedback in that reporting, which I love that he does. And then it's, okay, so you are great in our designer product, but there's other categories like LED mirrors, for example, or our portables that I don't see much distribution there. So we need to work on that, right? So now I'm looking at who's heavily pushing all of our umbrella, assortment of products.
So not just the top line, but you're then going to category level
Correct.
and looking at trends there.
Then I'm going to see, and so he'll send that out, and I'll review that. Right, that's really the kind of reporting that I review, and it really kind of doesn't go much more granular than that unless it has to. Then I'll ask for a report on how many people are using ECAT, right, which we currently use, how many people have signed in, how many people are actively using it. We can get that, right, similar to what we can do with e-commerce, with commerce. So now I want to know, are they actually investing in the technology and the time that we put in to create that, right? So then it's about, okay, well, if we have a marketing initiative, which currently, for example, we ask them to go in and collect email addresses from the showroom sales associates, because we want to really create marketing that's targeted at them. How much participation are we getting from that, right? And we're tracking that. Like, so this rep might get 57 emails in this week, and another rep might get 7. Well, that's, problematic for me because it's more about buy-in. So that's another metric I'll look at. How much is the rep contacting their customer service representatives? We have customer service representatives that represent regions. So if you're in the Southeast region, you have one dedicated customer service rep. And so how many times are they calling in and are bringing deals to either my national sales manager or saying, hey, I need this for this, right? So I know they're paying attention. And so it goes into those kinds of things, right? And then it's also how much are they invested, engaged, and present in the Dallas showroom, right? When we have our Dallas markets, are they bringing customers through? Are they participating in the initiatives that we have for the market? What does their market orders look like, right? Those kinds of things. That can give me a broad idea if somebody's really paying attention and trying or not.
And Greg, one of the, I think, fallacies, the fact that these are independent reps and you're paying a commission if they sell. I think a lot of companies just hire without the due diligence that you need to do, because you kind of feel like, oh, I'm not losing anything. Versus if it was a full-time employee and you had a fixed cost of it, I think people would do a lot more due diligence. Uh, talk uh, talk to me about like what your recruitment process looks like if you're filling up a position.
Yeah.
What are you really looking at in the rep, and why just sort of not doing that due diligence is bad, even
Yeah.
though you're not like incurring a fixed cost.
Sure. So I'll give you a perfect example. So we just hired a new rep in Florida, northern Florida. And so the process was, it began by what we talked about in the beginning, right? What is the relationships that this person has, that these candidates or agencies have with some of our really good buyers? What are the relationships they have by people we don't do business with? And we can always gather that because it's a very small industry. So we start doing research and we call accounts. Hey, what do you think of this person? What do you think of that person? And we get feedback from the customers because they're the ones that are going to deal with this person.
Interesting.
Right? So, and we did that. And then it's okay, well, let's have an initial conversation. What other lines do you carry? Is there any conflicting lines, right? At my previous company, I was sort of at the mercy of, getting a good rep, but not being at that point yet, I think, where I could say, well, you can't carry this line, you can't carry that line, right? Not that there was that many conflicting lines with my older company, but here with Savoy House, it's about, okay, we sell, fans, LED mirrors, lighting commodities, designer product. What is there any other lines that are going to conflict where you're going to be cross-selling and I'm competing with myself essentially because the rep is pushing that? Do they have a big enough agency? Do they have a back-end support? Can they support, order processing and field and, problems that might come in from the retailer that need to be solved? Do they have enough people to travel in the territory and visit accounts enough, right? And the most important thing, because Savoy is poised and ready to explode as far as growth, for some of the things that we did over the last couple of months and on the back end, are they passionate? Are they energetic about it? Are they gonna, do they possess the same sort of sales ideology that I have or that we have? And we have to not be complacent, and we have to go in with passion and drive and conviction to sell.
Greg, one of the things that I've been very impressed with is, I was kind of surprised with, is in your previous company, like through COVID, when everybody was kind of degrowing, everybody was panicking. I think you took a very active leadership stance, and you ended up growing the business in that time frame. So, we'd love to know, like, what was the mindset? What was the like? How did you sort of achieve that?
Yeah. So during COVID, this all goes back to the original topic that we talked about, which was sell to help, and was, developing trust and having, a desire to create a partnership with somebody. During COVID, while most people were, tacking on, delivery fees and, looking to, I think, out of fear, potentially, not necessarily intentional, how to protect themselves, I think that my philosophy was, let me offer discounts, let me offer incentives for the showroom to buy. Let me start drop shipping for free, because we knew that people weren't going to go into showrooms, but if they could go and shop on a showroom online and the showroom could say, hey, we could drop ship it to you, right? They would never have to leave their house. So I felt like, well, let's offer an initiative to just do free drop ships no matter what. Right. So I didn't want to be part of the problem. I wanted to be part of the solution. I wanted to show the retailers at that time that we're going to create an aggressive program for you to buy, because I know you're going to be slow. Right. So if you placed an order and you were able to get over a small minimum amount, I would remove the freight for you if you didn't have free freight, or I would give you a discount on that order. Right. And that was the COVID program. And believe it or not, we really soared. We also launched a virtual Dallas, where we were able to sell people virtually, and that was one of our most successful Dallases, because I got one-on-one time, and I really was able to understand what people needed at that time. I also, at the time, we were giving this free product to put on displays, right? Because we knew that they didn't have cash at that time, but we knew, based on the metrics of the account and the longevity of the account, because it's a two-way partnership, that we would invest now to gain later, right? And we would show that we really, had that care. And that was the truth. And we backed that up, and we did that. Same thing with the tariffs, right? It was tariffs are here. They were very dynamic. They were moving. We didn't do a thing. We stayed put, and we stayed all the way through it, right? And we stayed through it, and we did. I did it because I wanted people to see that we weren't going to be impulsive. We weren't going to abandon the one thing that we said that we were, and that was a partner, right? We had a relationship there, and that was the value in it. And then eventually, what we were able to do is create a really great tariff mitigation policy where we were able to kind of, mitigate some of that. And we were able to I was able to look at where are the other areas that I can expect or ask my partners, my vendors to participate in the cut. And then that was an effective way to not have to raise prices so aggressively. And so I think that's what leadership is about. I think that's what backing up what you say you're going to do in the eyes of value, in the eyes of a meaningful partnership is doing those kinds of things and showing up in those moments. And so and I know the only reason I would ever make the jump really to go to a company like Savoy House is because it's so rich in family value and in the exact thing that I'm talking about here. And that is, what do we need to do to grow together?
Talk about these values, Greg. You've referred to these values a couple of times.
Okay, so it's many people tend to want to chase the shiny white object of what they believe is the next volume grab, margin grab. But what they don't necessarily look at is how is that going to affect the people that you already do business with. So there's a loyalty there, right, to that. There is thoughtful engineering of product. There is aggressive programs to help people really achieve different levels of benefits. And then there's also a manipulation of that, depending upon circumstances, that if there's a tier B program, but you're sitting at C and you're close, we're going to give you that B program, right, to incentivize, because again, it's motivating, right? It's like, oh wow, they worked with me there. It's being probably one of the top 5 largest lighting manufacturers in the country, but still being able to get Troy Lee on the phone, or get me on the phone, right, or get Leslie on the phone. People that are it's that it's having customer service care about solving your problems. Right? And it's not transactional. It's not run from a boardroom decision. It's run around a table, right? We're not just looking at bottom line. I mean, every business has to make money, right? But we're not just driving our business based on that. And look, the private equity model, I know it very well, and it's a successful model for private equity, and I don't knock it. It's just a very different model, right?
So, what are some of the decisions that, for example, a Savoy would not take or did not take that maybe some of your competitors from the private equity world did?
I think that it's, first off, it's opening up, how should I say, I guess it's, there's a designer fad right now, right? There's a let's do business directly with designers, and we certainly have product to do business with designers, and that's great. But it's a more researched decision, and it's not an impulsive decision. And it's like, okay, well, we know there's a sensitivity out there that showrooms are not in support of that, and I see that side of the argument. So how can we do this to where we're not undercutting them, but at the same time, we as a company always have to evolve and grow. And it's thought out, in a way and executed in a way that it doesn't hurt the showrooms, right? Because the pricing benefits are different, right? We're supporting them. We're giving the rep the opportunity to manage the business, essentially. And I just think that, not to say that that's always how it's going to be, but for right now it is. It's protecting the integrity of, the distribution channel, so to speak, and it's definitely being upfront, transparent, and forward, right? It's also being cognizant of creating product that covers all categories so that somebody can benefit from doing business with one person. It's working with people that might have cash flow issues. It's giving them extended terms. It's things like that.
Greg, let's talk about sort of the role of technology, right, in everything that you're trying to achieve in running a successful sales organization. At your former company, where we were partners, I saw you like invest a lot in the 2 years, 3 years, before you moved here. You kind of modernized, I think, every single department. So, talk a little bit about why invest in technology. What, and when you're looking for solutions, like where are you investing, and what role do you think AI will play long term
Yeah.
in this space?
So, from a philosophical standpoint, from the way that I see things, um, I don't necessarily personally view, the person that comes in at 6 in the morning and leaves at 9 o'clock at night and works all day and comes in early and leaves after everybody. I don't see that as um, incredible value anymore. I'm more concerned about efficacy. What can you get done in the time that you are putting in? And so I think technology we look at an example like AI imagery, right? So to have Photoshoppers, and graphic designers drag a fixture in, create the room element, create the shadows, right? We were paying an exuberant amount of money for each image. Now it can be done in batches overnight, right? Run in 300, 400, 500 batches overnight, as you know. And so it's cost efficient. It creates a good enough uh, product that can be used to help convert sales. So I'm all for it. Same thing with even some of the, WizCommerce platform, right? It was just designed for my previous company, which was a mix and match company, which is a very hard thing to do. And it just created a fantastic shopping experience for the rep to use to help buyers make decisions right there on the spot, changing finishes, changing glass. So, again, that's a form of technology, right? Uh, Even now, into we talked earlier about some of the spaces in the customer service department to be able to have rhetorical questions answered just via a data feed through our ERP is like creating more efficacy out of our departments, and that's what we did there, and that's what we intend to do here as well. There is some technology that's been incorporated already. We've been heavy into AI imagery. I'm very, very grateful and fortunate to have an owner who pays attention, to me, believes in me, and understands that, and is open-minded and willing to listen to some of this stuff. And he has, and he really has. So we've already jumped in with 2 feet. So those are the areas I currently see that can be really incorporated and beneficial.
And Greg, when it comes to customer service, which is, as you said, like, one of the key sort of unique things about Savoy in how customers view you, what areas in customer service are you seeing like is a time sink or things that we should kind of automate? And what areas do you think in an ideal world customer service should spend time on?
Yeah, order entry is something that's very time consuming. And I know there's been huge strides in AI with that. Again, rhetorical customer service questions from both the buyer, the retailer, our customers, and the rep that can be answered fairly quickly via AI. I think that one of the things we did at my older company was a live chat, right, where you can scan something and then have like a live chat, and that could also be sort of AI botted out, if you will, as long as it's rhetorical. I think you just have to keep the human element in there when it comes to talking to people about meaningful things. So that's how I see it.
So, Greg, I think we'll move to the most interesting part of the podcast, which
Okay.
is we have a rapid fire round for you. Um, Very simple rules here. I'm going to ask you a question. You have to answer in, like, as quickly as you can. Don't overthink it. The first thought that comes to your mind. And short answers, like just one sentence. So, question number one: what do your best reps do that your average reps don't?
They sell with passion and they build relationships.
One thing you'd automate with AI tomorrow if you could.
Order entry.
The most overspent line item in your wholesale budget.
Uh, God, you're killing me with this one. Overspent item. Advertising.
What's the one thing about this industry that hasn't changed in 20 years and should?
It's terrible at this. One thing that should. The adaptation of technology. The willingness to adapt technology.
If AI could give you one perfect report every Monday morning, what's on that report?
Sales conversion rates.
What's the first thing you look at when you walk into a competitor's showroom?
How many products they've copied from us.
What's the most undervalued department in a wholesale company?
Customer service.
The best piece of advice you got early in your career?
Find something you're passionate about. Do it, and the money will follow.
What's changed most about how your buyers buy in the last 5 years?
They buy off a relationship. They buy off of relationships.
What's the first thing you do when you arrive at a trade show?
I head to the showroom and unpack and take a look at the new product.
Last question. What's the one piece of advice you would give somebody early in their sales career who wants to follow your trajectory?
Don't focus so much on the outcome. Focus on the journey to get there with it. It's not the pursuit of happiness. It's the happiness in the pursuit of a sales call.
Perfect. I think, Greg, thanks a lot for your time. I think I think one of the things that I really love about what I do is I get to work with, great leaders like you, business owners, people who lead companies, and especially through the tariff phase, I saw like how you led it, and I felt because we are also part of the industry, right? We're also sort of, our business also gets impacted when people's business get impacted. I was going through a rough phase. I was thinking like, okay, this is going to be a very rough year for Wiscommerce. But when I saw your response, I was like, I think you posted something on LinkedIn about how you're just going to, be patient through all of this. That was really inspiring to me because I was like, their business gets impacted directly. I'm getting impacted indirectly, and I'm taking so much stress. But Greg is sort of leading from the front, and we did a lot of things. We were, we let people not pay us for some time. So I followed a lot of your playbook in that time. So thank you so much for your leadership, and I hope you have a great time at Savoy, and you sort of achieve everything you're.
Yeah, I look forward to talking to you soon and doing business together soon, and I appreciate the opportunity.
Thanks, Greg.
Thanks.